We are back in open session. We're going to continue with item 15 under reports. This is Councilmember Baldino's item to discuss establishing an ad hoc city council subcommittee to address issues related to the Hyperion water reclamation plant. Councilmember Baldino.
Thank you. So, since getting elected, I've gotten emails from, Senator Allen, Ted Lieu, and, what can I do to help? And my response is always, what have we done about Hyperion? What can you do to help about Hyperion? I appreciate the work that's been done by the folks in this room and staff. It takes a lot, especially since Hyperion is really not within our jurisdiction. They don't have to listen to us. But I also know from meeting people in town that people still don't understand what's going on, and they're scared and they want answers. Fast forwarding to the committees that you're about to nominate, thank you for appointing me to the Hyperion Citizen Forum and the Environmental Committee, but I feel like we can do more and be more proactive. And so my idea of bringing this to you is that I want to start a Hyperion task force, an ad hoc committee of city council, whose purpose is going to be kind of take ownership of the process, ownership of disseminating information about what is happening with Hyperion, and try to take some accountability to other elected officials, the city of Los Angeles, AQMD, about what has happened and what the steps are to go forward. There's a lot of moving parts, and I feel like having a task force will help organize our goals, help set some markers, and most importantly, help communicate to the people in town that we are being proactive as much as we can, and let them know, what we've accomplished and what we hope to obtain at the end of all this. And I don't know if we'll find all the answers, but I think it's worth the shot to try. And so that's why I'm asking for this council to give a blessing of setting up this task force so that we can go out there and start trying to coordinate all these different moving parts and try to move forward and just do a better job of communicating with our constituents about what's happening.
Thank you, Councilmember Baldino. Any council comments? No, okay. We have two items then. One is to approve establishing this task force, and the other would be to, which is a little bit of a deviation from how it's listed on here, but we're really talking about a task force for Hyperion. And then the second is to decide who goes on to that task force. So I believe you're volunteering, Councilmember Baldino? I
was volunteering. My original idea was to tap Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, who is the chair of the Environmental Committee. She has a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, and is an excellent writer. But I've been advised by council that if it was just one city council and one environmental, we would have to Brown Act every single meeting. And I think that would be cumbersome for what this role really is, which is being quick and nimble and responsive. So on advice of council, he's recommending we do 2 city council members. We can still enlist the help of Tracy or Corey Zupo or any of the numerous talented, qualified people we have willing to help out with this problem. And if we do it with 2 council members, then we're kind of unbound by the Brown Act. We can move a little more nimbly, but we'll still regularly report out. I see Mark over there.
Just to be technical about it, it'd be an ad hoc committee, generally be tilted up for less than 6 months on what has been described as a very specific issue. And so with just 2 members of council on that, it's not required to be agendized as far as the meetings.
And I feel like we have some momentum coming. Like there was interest from Ted Lieu has already allocated funds. Senator Allen and Martucci are working together now with Ted Lieu, and I want to be able to capitalize on that and keep moving the thing forward.
Got it, okay. And do we have anyone that would like to volunteer with Councilmember Baldino?
So I'll volunteer myself for that.
Great. Okay. So we have a, let's see, would someone like to move approval of the ad hoc, AKA task force subcommittee?
So moved.
Yeah. Do you have a
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. All right, and then I'd like to move approval of Councilmember Baldino and Councilmember Perstuck as members of this ad hoc committee.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did.
Thank you. All right, let's see, we're gonna go through some council member reports, and then I've got an item under my name, so Councilmember Giroux.
Nothing from me.
Councilmember Perstock.
Nothing.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel.
Two quick ones. The League of Cities Tax Policy Subcommittee met 2 weeks ago. And one thing that I think is an item of interest, because we've discussed it and probably worth it for the people at home for the next election cycle, is the idea of recommendations on how tax revenue should be apportioned based on, for online sales. And so just some food for thought for all of us to sort of think about if the city wants to take a position. You have a city that has big box warehouses. Well, I'll use this as a real example with a $21 million general fund, $9 million of which is paid for by revenue off of their distribution center. So they naturally want to keep that tax increment where it currently sits, and that revenue currently sits with that city. Alternately, you have neighboring cities who say, we are choked by your truck traffic coming out of your distribution center. There's an impact on us for the revenue of these sales, that they would like a piece of that revenue. So it's an interesting piece. It's a battle sort of within cities to try and find a happy medium, but there is certainly a debate in Sacramento about how that money would be apportioned. And I think cities like ours, who, our roads certainly suffer from the distribution traffic at the last mile level, have an interest in wanting to know where those sales tax dollars live. So that was a very brief 3-hour discussion that I won't get back. Other piece of a significant win for us and for the region, we all see the advantage, well, I shouldn't say that. There is some of us perceive an advantage to having the big entertainment venues like SoFi, Intuit Dome that'll open in Inglewood, and sort of the resurgence of the Forum. I think that those as regional amenities, the COG has really advanced the cause of how traffic goes in and out of that, and how people who stay at the hotels go in and out and are able to access it, and the fact that traffic is choked in there because of the inability of people to get in and out of those entertainment venues and back to their hotels and back to restaurants. We argued significantly on Inglewood's behalf of funding basically a light rail spur to get people in and out of those areas called the ITC. We successfully got a $400 million grant from the state of California for that, and they'll use that as a matching fund to apply for further funding to try and finish that off in the next few years. It will be a public-private partnership. It could be a big win for the region, and we like people staying here and spending money at our restaurants and not sitting in traffic in Inglewood. So that was a pretty big win, and the nice thing is it kind of brought the whole area together for it. So that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. I got quite a few things since the last meeting. I apologize. We had a great call with Congressman Ted Lieu last week with city manager, city attorney, and Elias, and he is taking action. Can't say specifically what, but he's definitely taking action. And Mayor Succi as well. Recently, we're on a call with him, and he was pleasantly surprised that he volunteered legislation with his staff on that call without even really fully, well, he had been briefed in advance, and then he mentioned that while we had approached Senator Ben Allen earlier, and he had said, yeah, I would be willing to author legislation, Assemblymember Mayor Succi indicated he had been in touch with Ben Allen's office and that they were both planning on introducing legislation out of both houses, so that's good news. We did a tour of LAX last week, and even though we're all intimately familiar with what's going on with that airport and improvements, seeing it firsthand with the staff, Justin Urbachi was there. I put notes online. I mean, there was a lot of information there, and it was good to actually see a lot of these projects come to fruition, and that our colleagues on the SCAG Regional Council get a sense of the importance of LAWA and also some of our concerns as our neighbor to the north. And let's see, went to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and that was an incredible experience. I'd highly recommend after I'm gone that whoever follows me takes that trip. It is incredible. Not only did we get to hear from the administration at the White House and their cabinet, but more importantly, I think a lot of mayors that have similar concerns. Big cities, Mayor of Detroit, small cities, everything in between, best practices. I came back, was excited to share with Chief Bermuda's 4 different police technology innovations that have come about to improve policing, a couple of which Chris said weren't that great, but a couple of others have a lot of potential. One called Live 911 Dispatch, which is incredible. You're in the car, you're actually hearing the dispatch before your dispatch, so the police officer is actually hearing the emergency distress call in their car because they've been geofenced to an area. So it was a great experience, and I learned a ton. And of course, I represented to every other mayor that I met that we're the most important 5 square miles economically in Southern California. Let's see. Guaymas has come up a lot lately. 3 years ago, we hosted the mayor of Guaymas at the time. She came out with her administration. We had a thriving relationship with Guaymas as a sister city for many years. Sandy Jacobs, whose memorial I'm going to read, her and her husband Carl were intimately involved. Former Mayor Eric Bush, Robin and George Funk, Kiwanians, Rotarians. We have the Estrada family, good friends of ours who came here by way of the Guaymas relationship through baseball, and we haven't done much with it. And so the mayor and her staff reached out recently, inviting us to Mardi Gras. And so I'd like to get on a future agenda. I don't even know how we're going to approach this because we had a lot of momentum with this program for a very long time where like 10, 20, 30 members. Your mom probably went to Guaymas, didn't she? Did she ever go? No. A lot of people would go down there and support their Mardi Gras. We would give them fire trucks. There was a real sister city exchange program. I think we need to have a candid discussion about what the future of that relationship is and how we support it. Because right now, I don't think we're doing a very good job, frankly. It's been neglected.
Is the mayor alive? Is she still alive?
It's a new mayor.
That's a new mayor. Okay.
Yeah, it's a new
Because there was
mayor.
that significant gun battle at the mayoral mansion last year.
Right, yeah. That mayor is no longer in power. I believe she's alive.
Yeah, I know a bunch of several of her guards were killed in that.
Yeah, it was terrible. So last time they came, though, George Funk brought a bunch of people together, and we did a lunch with them at Hannes. I think Carol was there, and we need to do, so we should think about that, that's all. SCAG, the Regional Council SCAG meeting, and also the Economic and Housing Division or Committee, there's an interesting development. I don't know if you guys have been following this, where they're taking schools and former school and religious facilities and converting them to housing. And Pasadena in particular is doing this. And so I think it's something that we want. I don't know what the precedent is there. I know our neighbor to the south just approved a pretty sizable project. I think we should just look at what's happening there because it was a big topic of conversation. And let's see. Oh, I met with the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. This just fell in our lap. It's a friend of mine through Entrepreneurs Organization, Takashi. He's had a business here as an incubator for a long time. I said, Drew, I want to have a meeting. And so I met with a group. They want to basically bring, let me think about this for a second. 1,000 Japanese entrepreneurs in the United States over the next 5 years, so 200 a year, to get them plugged into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so they're looking at Boston, New York, Silicon Valley, and LA. And then after we met, it was more about El Segundo, especially with Takeshi here. Takeshi he's Japanese, he made the introduction. So it's pretty exciting. They want to get going with us. So of those 200 entrepreneurs a year, they would come here, they would be in a cohort, and they would learn about doing business in the States. And the whole idea is to bring entrepreneurship back to Japan, but this will put El Segundo on the map in a major way. So that's exciting, and we wouldn't have to do anything for it. We also met with Tom Mueller. I didn't even know who this was. A friend of mine put me in touch with him. Tom Mueller was the guy that Elon Musk tapped on the shoulder to build rockets. He was running the amateur rocket club out in the high desert, and Elon Musk said, I don't know anything about rockets. Can you build me a rocket? He brought Tom on. Tom was one of the original founding executives at SpaceX. He now runs Impulse Space Systems. We toured his facility. He's in the former Danny Brubaker building, Smoky Hollow Studios. And he's building these, they're not rockets, they're little mobility devices that have like micro firing flares. I'm blowing the terminology in space, but really cool stuff. And he's still in El Segundo. And so it still amazes me how many incredible ideas we have happening in town every single day. So that was really cool. I'm almost done. Are you guys familiar that the South Bay Against Hate Coalition, did you guys hit that? So Hildy Stern was a former Manhattan Beach council member. I didn't know if she emailed all of us, but you were on a call, I think, or Barbara Voss, right? The first call to understand a little bit about that. I was on the last one, and they had a couple presenters on it. They're still trying to figure out what they're going to be.
Correct.
But is Portland? Who's the person?
For the time being, Barbara is joining the group, and also I think we had 2 representatives from our DEI that were.
That's right. Yeah, actually, Christabel was on, and Avery was not on. They were looking for moderators, so I suggested Avery actually, because I was on a panel that he facilitated once a long time ago. So, and that's it. That makes up for, usually I don't do everything that I've done the last few weeks, but I was actually really diligent about note-taking the last couple of weeks, so thank you for entertaining me. And I have an item under
Mr. Mayor, there's one
yes.
thing on there that may be an item for Michael Allen, and that is about the housing element overlay as it pertains to St. Anthony's that might inform your sympathy.
I think there's already a state law that allows churches to build on their parking to add housing. I just don't think our churches have enough parking lot to make it feasible, but it's just one of the many, many state laws that are geared at getting rid of CEQA, letting people build as a matter of right. And when I went to the League of Cities conference for new mayors, the mayor from Solana Beach stood up and asked, what are you doing to protect cities from maintaining control of what their cities look like? And the response is, that's not what people from Sacramento want. And we can't be the League of No, we have to be the League of Cities, so we have to say yes to this. So the folks in Sacramento no longer want local governments or planning commissions to have any say over high density housing. They just want to build, and make it easier for builders to do that. And that's the reality of what we're facing.
You're right. Thank you. Okay, we've got some assignments. Item 16, assign city council members to serve on committees for various intergovernmental and local agencies. Good news is I think everybody pretty much got what they asked for, right? More or less, it felt like it. Let's see. So we've got, I'll read these. City Selection Committee is me. This is something that happens periodically. Like the next time we meet, I believe, is the AQMD seat that's open, which several people are vying for. Hyperion Citizens Forum is Ryan Baldino and Lance Giroux as delegate and alternate respectively. Independent Cities Association is myself and Chris Pimentel as alternate. Independent Cities Risk Management Authority is Carol Perstuck, and then Chris Pimentel as alternate. League of California Cities is Chris Pimentel and myself as alternate. LA County Sanitation District 5 and SBC is Mayor Pro Tem and myself as alternate. Senior Citizens, Housing Corporation Board, otherwise known as Park Vista, is Ryan Baldino and Carol Perstuck as alternate. South Bay City Council of Governments is Lance Giroux as a delegate. Me, Chris, Carol, Ryan, we're all alternates. Southern California Association of Governments is delegate Chris Pimentel, and Drew, myself, is the alternate. That's, by the way, the General Assembly is coming right up in May, Chris. The Contract Cities Association is Chris Pimentel and Lance Giroux as the alternate. And the City School Affairs Subcommittee is Ryan Baldino and myself. Disaster Council, which we have not met since pre-pandemic, I believe. That is Chris and myself. City Council Finance Committee is Carol and Lance. Investment Advisory Committee is Carol as delegate, Lance as alternate. Arts and Culture Advisory Committee is Lance as delegate. Environmental Committee is Ryan as delegate. The LA County West Vector Control District is me. The LAX Area Advisory Committee is Corey Zupo, Carol Perstuck, and Carl Jacobson. The LAX Roundtable is Carol Perstuck and Carl Jacobson. The Aquatic Center Subcommittee is Lance Giroux and Chris Pimentel as delegate, with Ryan as an alternate. So, we need to vote on this too, so any questions, comments, concerns? Yeah.
This morning's discussion in E-Team, ICRMA was only supposed to have one person.
Yeah, I think that's usually Joe is the primary.
But we had
Mike Dugan.
changed it within
Yeah.
the last year that instead of two, it was just gonna be the one person. He brought that up this morning in E-Team. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you are. I think that Joe is, unless,
I was the primary and Joe was the alternate, and then we switched it by an act of
Right.
council that Joe became the primary and I was the alternate.
right, so
Because Mike Dugan used to go all the time in the past, if I remember correctly.
it's a council decision. I mean, Joe, excuse me. Joe is, I think he's been the primary for probably 4 to 6 years now, something like that. I don't know when you became,
I think we switched it at the 2-year point. I will caution that the meetings are in person. They're usually somewhere far, and they're at like 10 o'clock till 4 p.m. Like, they are all-day affairs. So it is not for the faint of heart and the employed.
And Joe's willing to continue doing it, right?
I think he enjoys doing it.
Oh, yeah, there's a buffet. It's at a golf course in, like, something Diablo place. I don't know, somewhere
You
east.
know, I mean, they deal with all the member cities, all the lawsuits and getting the insurance for the authority. It's a fair amount of work. And Joe, I think Joe really appreciates doing the finance aspect of it. Lose my voice.
Was that your name on there?
That's the only name, the only committee I'm on, in the agency committees.
Do you want to go?
Well, I don't mind looking at something else, but it just, I'm only on one, so it's kind of unfair. I just take that
That works for me. You'd be taking that from me. Yeah, you want to be the delegate for Independent Cities? Okay, and then Chris is the alternate. Okay.
And also, contract cities, those meetings are now in person again. The Lance, you and I in contract cities, and those are usually in, I think they were in Duarte last time.
So I want to ask about the aquatics committee. Carol had mentioned having a committee to oversee the plunge. I would volunteer to do that because of my construction experience. I've talked to the city manager about hiring Pretty from Tulac to help oversee that because she's done such a great job with our school bond program. I've worked with her on that as the citizen bond oversight chair. So I don't know if that's going to be separate from aquatics or what role you want me to have as an alternate on that or what. It's up to you. I don't want to volunteer for everything or create a million ad hoc committees.
Well, one of the things that actually I spoke to this morning with Ally is that we have to kind of reevaluate what the aquatic subcommittee is going to be because it was based before on something completely different from what we need now. So I think we need to hash out. I think we can kind of make this into one aquatic subcommittee that includes the plunge and everything that we need to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a matter of something we probably have to kind of to get to and hash out and reword it.
Yes, I think that's accurate. We should discuss that before. Was it an actual plunge subcommittee or was it a rec park
So
subcommittee?
my
that
idea
you-
was to have a subcommittee for the construction. So like encompassing to the plunge, the rec park, the teen
Right.
center, to make
It's a
sure
little
that,
different, yeah.
yeah, it was a little different.
Okay.
So that would be a good one for you because you have that background too.
I guess that's different. Okay.
So it wasn't about like talking about the usage, it was more about the development.
Got it. I'm happy to help oversee construction projects
Yeah.
for you.
So, I mean, if you want to create a subcommittee for that, I can jump on that too with Brian.
Yeah,
I think
we
that's
actually were
coming
gonna,
back.
we were gonna bring that
right?
back, we were gonna bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's
I-
coming back
yeah,
on the
that's what it
21st.
is. So mine was more about development,
Correct.
Okay.
not about usage.
Got it.
Okay, we're good then?
Yep.
Awesome. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yeah. So we just
With
make
the
sure.
change?
With the change, so Joe is back on the RCAM, ISM, and then I'm gonna be on the,
You're the delegate
Yeah.
for Independent Cities.
yeah, got it.
And for ICRMA, you do have to do a Form 700. Oh, she's not on
Joe.
ICRMA. Just Joe. No, it's Joe and you?
Well,
Who's
it was,
me?
right here, it was, me and then you.
Yeah, so now it's you and Joe's the primary, you're the
Sure,
alternate?
I can be the second.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve with everything as stated, with the exception that Joe Lilio is the delegate and Carol Perstick is the alternate on the ICRMA
And the Independent Cities Association.
and Independent Cities?
And
Was
So,
she's the
Mine.
primary on Independent Cities, and I'll be the alternate.
yes. Okay, we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Right, we have a second?
Baldino seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome, Tracy.
5-0. All right, one more item. Item 17, discuss retaining a PR firm to assist with communications related to Hyperion. Just a quick background here. I think we could do a better job as a city to escalate and amplify the message and the asks that we have about what we're looking for with regards to Hyperion. I know we're in a little bit of a sensitive time right now because we're working with the city of LA and we're giving them a little bit of latitude to come to the table with us. So I'm willing to defer actually executing on this, but I would like council to consider, and I think you already have the budgetary ability to do that, but retaining a firm to help us, like for example, LA Times did a extensive piece on Chevron and then talked about the nitrogen that Chevron is discharging into the ocean. But then in a line buried in the bottom, they talk about Hyperion actually discharging 20 times more the nitrogen into the ocean. So clearly they're an easier target. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but we should be doing, I think, getting more press. We've done a lot up here. We declared a public emergency very early. We authorized a lawsuit very early on. We've met with 5 elected officials on multiple occasions. We now have fully retained a subject matter expert that's going to be on retainer to help us figure out if they're doing their job, if they're coming through on their commitments, as you read earlier. But I think we need a PR firm, or at least to authorize one. So that's my idea, and I'd like to see if the council would entertain such a thing.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
Is there a budgetary number attached? Do we know? I mean, presumably it's less than $50,000, so it's within your authority, but
Yes, it would be less than $50,000.
no objection.
All right, and I think voting on it will just make sure the intent is there. That's what I'm gonna bring forward. Okay, so we have a first. Is that a first?
So moved.
Okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. So,
Me.
5-0. Okay, thank you. All right, city attorney, reports.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
City manager.
Nothing for me also. Just one thing, I think the General Assembly, you said it was in May. I think it's in March, just to let you know.
I think
No.
March is the COG.
March is COG,
May is
General Assembly.
SCAG.
Gotcha, okay.
And it's in the desert. Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. And Daryl,
Yes.
comments? Or
No,
you got-
nothing
Oh,
else,
okay,
Mayor.
sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go on to, unfortunately, we have a memorial. This one really hits home, so bear with me. This woman lived a packed life. We are going to close in honor of former Mayor Sandra Carol Gerard Jacobs. We all called her Sandy. She was born on January 20th, 1942 to Frank and Betty Gerard in Covington, Kentucky. Her family, seeking business opportunities in the expanding aerospace industry, packed their 1952 Chrysler and headed west. She entered the newly constructed El Segundo Junior High in 1954 and graduated from El Segundo High School in 1960. She attended University of the Pacific in Stockton, California, and graduated in 1964, earning a BA in group work and recreation and elementary education. She met her husband, Carl, while at UAP, whom she married in 1964. After residing in Stockton, Phoenix, and Reseda, Sandy and Carol returned to El Segundo in 1981 to help her mother with the family's welding supply business. Their daughter, Jennifer Jacobs, graduated from El Segundo High School in 1987, and their grandson, Jacob Levy, followed her in 2014. She would talk about Jacob nonstop. Sandy entered the El Segundo business community as owner of a Hallmark store, House of Cards. I think that was before my time. Was that early 90s?
Yeah.
And she opened a second location in Mariposa Village. She also served as president of South Bay Welders Supply, Inc., and co-owned Pinsational with Carl, a jewelry and classon pin company. Is that the word? No, it's French. Classon, I think. Serving as the first female president of the El Segundo Chamber of Commerce from 1989 to 1990, and again from 1993 to 1994, she coordinated efforts of the organization's many committees with successes in the areas of chamber, local government relations, and economic development. In 1996, 200 years after the election of her great-grandfather, James Girard, as second governor of Kentucky, Sandy was elected to the El Segundo City Council and served as the first female mayor from 1996 to 1998, and mayor pro tem from 1998 to 2004. Before, during, and after serving on city council, she played a vital role in the downtown revitalization project, the mural program, and downtown signage initiative. Sandy lived her life in service to others. In college, she was a camp counselor for the Girl Scouts. After college, she taught autistic children for her first job and always volunteered at her daughter's schools. She served on the boards and had leadership positions in many groups, including the El Segundo United Methodist Church, El Segundo Jobs Daughters, the Library Expansion Board, Business and Professional Women, the Quota Club, El Segundo Rotary Club, El Segundo Economic Development Committee, and the Switzer Learning Center. Sandy was a recipient of many awards and accolades during her life, including Business and Professional Women of the Year in 1989, South Bay Woman of the Year, 1999, American Heart Association Community Chair Award, 2002, El Segundo Citizen of the Year in 2013, and El Segundo Alumni Hall of Fame. She also was the chair of the South Bay City Council of Government, and she served with Jackie Bacharach, who is the first executive director of COG and still the executive director of COG. And Jackie has incredible things to say about her time working with Sandy. Both Sandy and Carl spent many years traveling to Guaymas, Mexico with the Sister City program, where they made lifelong friends and donated their time to the local community. On one of the trips, Sandy brought loads of fabric and taught sewing classes to groups of women. Along with the Rotary Club and the City of El Segundo, she helped deliver sports uniforms, playground equipment, and even a fire truck donated by the city. She and Carl had a particular fondness contributing to Castaway Kids, an organization in Guaymas that assists with education and housing for children and families. In retirement, she served as past president advisor to the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and regularly attended weekly Rotary meetings. Sandy was a lifelong crafter who loved to sew, knit, crochet, and quilt, and loved to give away her creations. She was an avid reader who enjoyed spending time on her deck, ensuring her garden was a sanctuary for monarch butterflies. In 2007, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and remained active despite her limitations. Sandy is survived by her husband, Carl Jacobs, daughter, Jennifer Jacobs, grandson, Jacob Levy, brother Elwin Gerard, and his partner, Kit Kerwick, along with family members residing in California, Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. A celebration of life service will be held on February 18th, 2023 at 2 p.m. at the United Methodist Church, 540 Main Street in El Segundo. And a reception will follow at Chevron Park. In lieu of flowers, the family requests donations be made to Castaway Kids, Inc., care of Carol Dance at 346 South Abrego Drive, Green Valley, Arizona, 85614. Sandy, we love you and we miss you, and we are adjourned. Thank you.